On March 7, 2019, the police made a strange discovery in the Nevada desert. They received a call from a man who stumbled upon an abandoned car in the desolate wasteland. When law enforcement arrived at the scene, they noticed that the car's windows and doors were smashed. Initially, they thought the vehicle was empty, but a putrid smell emanated from within. Upon opening the trunk, they found a corpse. It was Tom Burchard, a 71-year-old psychiatrist from California, who was known and respected by many. Tom was a kind and compassionate man, especially towards his patients. His loved ones admired him, but unfortunately, he never had children, although he was married. To fill the void left by the absence of children, he dedicated his life to helping troubled children and families. Tom was passionate about magic and was a member of an exclusive club called the Magic Castle. He often performed tricks to cheer up his young patients. One of his favorite illusions was turning a $1 bill into a $100 bill. He delighted in making his patients happy. If he discovered that his patients' parents were in need of money, he would give them the $100 bill. These kind gestures earned him respect and love, and he brought light into the lives of his patients. Among Tom's patients were single mothers who struggled with substance abuse or engaged in prostitution. Tom cared for them deeply and often offered them financial assistance. In December 2000, when he was 52, his wife discovered that he was communicating with young women online, meeting them, and helping them financially. As a result, she filed for divorce. At first glance, it might seem that these relationships with the women were sexual in nature. However, Tom denied doing anything illegal and claimed he was merely helping the women, insisting that his actions were being misinterpreted. In 2002, during a trip to Las Vegas with friends, Tom met Judy, a 40-year-old divorced woman with 4 children. They had a lot in common, including abstaining from alcohol. During this trip, they spent time by the pool, attended concerts, and promised to see each other again. Judy fell in love with Tom and moved to his town of Salinas. They lived together in a rural cottage, and Judy and her children were happy. Tom had never had a family before, and now he blossomed and felt truly happy. He explained his relationships with the young women to Judy in the same way he had to his ex-wife, claiming it was solely for charitable purposes. Judy accepted this, and she was touched by Tom's generosity. She was more understanding than his ex-wife. In 2017, Tom met 24-year-old Kelsey Turner online. Kelsey was born on May 5, 1993, in Norfolk, Virginia. At the age of 22, she moved to California to become a model. On social media, she was known as the Bad Barbie because she portrayed a desirable and sexy image that was sought after by the modeling industry. She posed for well-known magazines like Playboy and Maxim, but her career didn't progress further. She was famous on social media with over 100,000 followers. However, her glamorous life portrayed on social media was far from reality. At 24, she already had 2 children, a boy and a girl, from different men. At 17, she became pregnant with her first child by her boyfriend, but they broke up soon after their daughter was born. In 2014, she got married, had a son, and divorced the father. As a single mother with 2 children, she found herself in significant debt and had no modeling contracts. She ended up on the street. Kelsey told Tom about her difficult life and debts. He offered to rent an apartment for her in his name and pay the deposit. She agreed and moved into the $3,000 a month house with her children. Tom paid not only the deposit, but also the rent for a year. For him, this was normal. He just wanted to help her. Throughout the year, he not only paid for housing, but also gave her money for expenses. Kelsey wasn't the only girl he was helping. There were a dozen of them, and they all took advantage of the 71-year-old psychiatrist's generosity. But none of them asked for such large sums as Kelsey. Judy was aware that Tom was helping the girls. He didn't hide it. Despite the enormous amounts of money Tom gave her to support her family, their relationship was unstable. Each time, She asked for more and more money. On social media, she shared photos and videos of parties with friends. Judy realized that Kelsey was just taking advantage of Tom's kindness and had no intention of changing her lifestyle. But Tom continued to support her because he enjoyed helping people. Kelsey, in turn, spoke of Tom as a kind psychiatrist who had fallen in love with her and was willing to do anything to help. Judy expressed her outrage to Tom about this. She asked him to stop helping her, but Tom had already spent around $3,000 on Kelsey. He paid for rent, car repairs, and gave her money for expenses every week, and she spent that money on parties. If she had wanted to change her life and the lives of her children, she would have done so long ago. After pressure from Judy, Tom finally understood and stopped paying Kelsey's rent. He informed the landlord that he would only pay for the next 3 months, and after that, she would have to figure it out on her own. Kelsey didn't like this, as she was losing her main source of income. She was furious with Tom, but even more so with Judy, who had convinced him. She messaged Tom, threatening to kill her, saying that the bitch was now on her blacklist. She realized that Tom was distancing himself from her and began blackmailing him and sending threats, claiming she would call the police and report him as a pedophile, ruining his career. Tom feared that the gossip would quickly spread and destroy his reputation. Kelsey had shown her dark side, but Judy supported Tom. He stopped paying rent for her apartment, and in November 2018, Kelsey was evicted. She continued to threaten him, but the doctor still agreed to give her money one last time to get rid of her forever. She told him that social services had taken her daughter away and that she wanted to leave. In December 2018, she moved to Nevada, Las Vegas. During this time, Tom wasn't communicating with her, and Kelsey wasted no time. Upon arrival, she met Greg, and after Christmas, they moved in together. But their relationship was very tumultuous. The police came to their home several times, and Greg was arrested for violence. In February 2019, the girl found a new boyfriend, John Logan Kennison, who was even worse than the previous one. He had just been released from prison for distributing illegal substances and immediately moved in with Kelsey. From February 8th to 18th, Tom was in Las Vegas for a medical conference and behaved very strangely. He met with Kelsey, despite all her previous threats. Tom struggled with her absence in his life and began helping her again after returning to California. Kelsey messaged him, saying that her boyfriend was beating her and that she and her son needed help. This alarmed Tom, and he went to her to figure out what was happening. But he couldn't tell Judy the truth. He lied to her, saying he was going to a magic show. On March 1st, 2019, he flew to Las Vegas to meet Kelsey, and she picked him up. She was living with her son, boyfriend, and her new acquaintance, Diana Pena, a 30-year-old waitress who lived in the spare room for free in exchange for watching Kelsey's son. Another guy named Jeremy also lived in the house, occupying a room on the first floor. She introduced Tom to them as a kind benefactor who was in love with her. All her roommates found the relationship strange. Kelsey claimed there was nothing between them and that he was just a very generous man. At first, everything was going well, but on the first night of his stay at Kelsey's, Jeremy's girlfriend showed up at their doorstep. She was blonde and heavily intoxicated. She and Tom hit it off because he had a weakness for cute young girls. Kelsey didn't like this. She saw her as a rival who could take him away from her. In the evening, Tom and the girl went to the store, and he was driving since he didn't drink alcohol. Kelsey began accusing Jeremy's girlfriend of trying to cause discord between them. But after they returned, Jeremy and his girlfriend packed their things and left to avoid escalating the situation. Tom messaged Judy, saying he went to Kelsey's to clarify the situation and find out the truth. He told her he would stay for the weekend and return on March 4th. Judy was worried about Tom because she knew Kelsey was cruel and that Tom couldn't stand up for himself. She begged him to come back and stop seeing Kelsey. Judy believed Kelsey was dangerous and unstable, but she couldn't convince him. Unfortunately, That was the last message she received from Tom. After that, he stopped responding. She tried to call him, but his phone was turned off. Judy had a feeling that something terrible had happened, especially considering the fact that Tom had begun showing signs of senile dementia. He often couldn't find his car in the parking lot, lost things. But most alarmingly, he didn't recognize Judy's daughter, and once couldn't find his way home. Tom carried a lot of cash with him, about $1,000, as well as a small diary where he wrote down everything he forgot, including all his passwords. Judy was worried that he might have been robbed or gotten lost. For 3 days, she called the police and voiced her suspicions. She told them that Tom had gone to visit Kelsey and gave them her address. She also explained that the girl had already demonstrated her cruelty and had no intention of stopping taking advantage of her husband's generosity. She was sure something had happened to him since he didn't return on the day he had planned. The police went to Kelsey's house, but no one was there. They visited 4 times, and on the last visit, they noticed the lights were on and the blinds were open. They also saw a pile of mail in the mailbox and an unlocked front door. The officers went inside, but it was empty. However, they smelled a strong odor of cleaning products, which seemed suspicious to them. To avoid disturbing potential evidence, the police left the house. They contacted the owner, but he knew nothing about what was happening, except for the fact that the rent had been paid 3 months in advance and that Kelsey and Tom were not at home. The police obtained a warrant to officially search Kelsey's house. On March 7, 2019, at 10:50 a.m., a man and his children were driving along a deserted Nevada road when they noticed a BMW parked in an inappropriate place. He was surprised that the windows were broken and called the police. When the officers arrived at the scene, they examined the damaged windows and doors. They started the engine and opened the trunk. There were things inside, and the investigators were attracted by the putrid smell coming from there. Under a blanket lay a human body with signs of violence. Forensic experts arrived at the crime scene and thoroughly inspected the car. Inside, they found latex gloves and cleaning products, indicating that someone had tried to destroy evidence. Blood traces were found on the driver's seat, but the evidence couldn't determine what exactly had happened. Obviously, the deceased had been attacked inside the car, and then the body had been moved to the trunk. The autopsy showed that the body belonged to a man who had suffered a serious head injury, inflicted by multiple blows with an unidentified object. Bruises, cuts, and scratches were found on the victim's neck, face, arms, and chest. Part of his ear was also missing. He had numerous defensive wounds. The man died from blunt force trauma to the head. The police immediately established that the car's owner was Kelsey Turner and traced the connection between Tom's disappearance and the found corpse. Investigators went to Kelsey's house with a search warrant. There, they found evidence: a bloody towel that had been in the car, blood traces on a broken door, and cleaning products. It looked as if someone had tried to wipe away bloodstains on the floor. On March 15, 2019, the police obtained an arrest warrant for Kelsey. 2 weeks later, the FBI arrested her in California, where she was with her son. The boy was placed in a foster family, and Kelsey was charged with murder. Her boyfriend John was also detained. Diana, Kelsey's neighbor, voluntarily came to the police with her lawyer and told everything she knew about the crime in exchange for a more lenient sentence for herself. She told them what had really happened that evening. It was the second day of Tom's stay. Diana was working at a bar in Vegas as usual. In the late evening, Tom and Kelsey came to pick her up. Tom was driving. He took a wrong turn and got lost. Kelsey took Tom's phone to look at the navigator, but didn't miss the opportunity to snoop through his messages. On Tom's phone, she found nude photos of her roommate's mother. It turned out that Tom had also been giving money to her after she messaged him and told him a sob story. Kelsey flew into a rage when she saw these messages. She had a nervous breakdown and started insulting Tom. Somehow, despite this, he got everyone home safe and sound. Kelsey couldn't calm down. She was yelling, insulting him, and threatening to show the photos to everyone to ruin his reputation. He couldn't do anything about her anger and went into her son's bedroom. That night, her son wasn't at home. He was staying with a friend. Kelsey continued to threaten Tom and wanted him to pay her off for her silence. Eventually, Tom got angry too and slammed the door. Kelsey's boyfriend, John, didn't like this. He grabbed a baseball bat and broke down the door. Diana saw John running with the bat. She heard a loud sound and then saw Tom lying on the floor. She immediately noticed a huge bruise on his head. After the blow, John and Kelsey tucked their tails between their legs and left, abandoning the psychiatrist on the floor. Diana helped Tom come to his senses, gave him a glass of water, and tried to calm him down. Tom was in shock. Diana understood that he needed to go to the hospital and helped him get down to the garage where the car was. She didn't know how to drive, and Tom was in no condition to do so, so she waited for Kelsey and John to drive them to the hospital. But they had no intention of doing that. Still weakened, Tom told her that they would most likely kill him. Kelsey went down to the garage and said she would take Tom to the hospital after she cleaned up all the evidence of the attack. Diana rushed to wash off the blood. She heard the couple and Tom arguing loudly, and then Kelsey asked John to hit Tom. Diana ran to the garage to stop him. Unfortunately, she didn't make it in time. She was in shock and didn't know what to do. She started crying, and Kelsey sent her upstairs to clean up the remaining evidence. When the police came to Kelsey's house for the first time, Diana was there, but panicked, and didn't open the door for them. The next day, Kelsey went to the desert, where she left the car with Tom's body. On March 21st, she was detained. She and her boyfriend were charged with murder, but they did not plead guilty. Diana, who was released on bail thanks to her cooperation with the authorities, called them accomplices during the trial. Kelsey and John's lawyers, in turn, tried to discredit Diana's testimony. During the trial, Kelsey was wearing loose prison clothes because she was pregnant with her third child by an unknown man. In early July, John changed his mind and decided to plead guilty to second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. He was sentenced to 45 years in prison. Kelsey continued to claim her innocence. Her trial date was set for September 2022. Right before the hearing, she also confessed to committing second-degree murder. She was sentenced to 25 years in prison. In prison, she gave birth to a daughter who was immediately placed in the care of child services. Kelsey was a pathological liar and used Tom for money. She couldn't bear the fact that Tom would no longer support her, so she resorted to extreme methods such as blackmail, manipulation, threats, and even accused him of pedophilia. These threats were groundless because the police found no evidence to support them. He had photos of naked women on his phone, but there were no children. The police also found evidence that Tom and Kelsey had a sexual relationship through correspondence and photo exchanges. But since Tom was an adult, this evidence was not presented in court. Tom's actions may seem controversial, but he was still a respected, successful, and kind man, so it's difficult to pass any final judgment without taking all the facts into account. We shouldn't forget Judy's contribution, as she tried to convince Tom to stop communicating with Kelsey. It's very unfortunate for Kelsey's children, who never knew what it was like to have a stable relationship and a responsible mother who prioritizes her children's well-being.